All right, today we're working on a two-part project. This will be step one. It's going to have a background that goes from lighter to darker colors bursting out in a radial symmetry. And then we're going to have a part two that has silhouette items being set down in the foreground. So what we'll start with today is you will choose two colors on the color wheel that are next to each other. So looking at the color wheel, you'll have to decide what two colors next to each other would work best. I have gone ahead and chosen to do a red and orange. And between the two, I have to decide which one is the lighter color. Of course, orange will be the lighter color of the two. What we're going to start with is I've got my paints in red and orange and a white so that I can easily lighten colors as I go. So simply what we're going to start with is you will start with we're going to have to do some mixing here. And I want to discuss with you the proper way to mix your colors. You always want to start with your white. I'm going to take a little bit of white off to the side here, like that, with my brush. And you add a tiny bit of color as you go. We want to start from lightest versions of orange to the darkest, which will then turn into our reds as it radiates outward towards the edge of the page. You'll see. So right now I'm going to take a little bit of orange, mix that in. Go ahead and set this down here where we can still see. Mixing that in, it's going to make a really, really pale, kind of a peachy color. And again, this can be done using blue and purple or blue and green. Purple and red might be even an interesting combo. And what I'm going to start is figure out where do I want to start my radial artwork here. I think I'm going to start just right about here. Start painting just a circle. Okay, this might represent, I'm going to add a little bit more white into that actually. There we go. This will be kind of a sunset, sunrise maybe, something going on in the background here. What I'll do then is add a little bit more orange to it. Just a little bit at a time. Make it a little bit darker. And I'm just going to add to that circle there. Add a little bit more of that orange. Make it a little bit darker. And I'm loading my brush with lots of color here. Adding even more of this orange. Oh, this orange is very good. Getting darker as I go out into my radial design here. And adding another. Each time making sure that it is getting darker as it goes out. And you can kind of start to blend your colors in together lightly with your brush. Okay. Oops, there we go. Doing lots of blending. Now I'm coming out here where I want to start really getting it into my medium oranges here. And it's going to start going off the page, and that's okay. But you want to kind of imagine a big circle as it goes off the page, following that circle line. This is part of the wow artwork we talk about, is where it's okay for your art to go off the page. Right here, we're imagining these circles going off the page. Oh, excuse me. I know I have a funny sneeze. My kids always laugh at that in art class. They say I sneeze like a little mouse. Allergies are pretty bad right now, especially if you've been doing yard work. All right, so now I'm getting into kind of a pure orange on the outer edge here. That's going to be my dark orange out in here. Just a pure orange before I start moving into my reds. I'm loading my brush up. We call it loading the brush, getting lots of color on there. Don't be afraid to do that. What I need to start doing now as I get to the edge where I've got all this beautiful pure orange, our pure color. Remember back to our value scales we worked on in our sketchbooks where we had pure color in the middle. Our tints were to the left where we added whites, and then our shades were to the right, adding the black into it to make it darker. Now we're not actually going to add black into this one, but I want you to start thinking about that scale that we used. So see, we've gone from light into my pure orange here. Now this is where I'm going to start adding some red to this color I've mixed. Okay, And I'm going to start blending that into it. Still a little too red there, so I'm going to take a little bit of my white and a little bit of orange. You want to kind of have a good mix of orange, white, and red. There we go. I didn't want it so dark. That was my fault. There we go. And I'm going to kind of blend that in there as well. See how that blends. You got to kind of work quick with this, because when you're using acrylic or tempera paints like we use in class, a little bit of each. When you start working with those, you want to, they dry kind of quick, so you want to kind of move faster with those. Oh, I gotta pay attention to down here too. Just to make sure that it blends properly. Once it dries, it doesn't want to really blend so much for you. A little more tricky. But you never know what's going to kind of come of it. I like how some of this orange is kind of swooping back up into here, blending it. Just have fun with it. And coming down here, filling that in. Okay. So now I'm coming out here and I'm working towards where it's going to get a little bit darker on the outer edges with my bright reds. Adding a little bit more red to my mix as I go. And this is looking really nice. I think this is going to make a really nice backdrop for when we start doing our silhouettes. Okay. My darkest red out in the very far corner there. I'm going to make sure to come in here and kind of fill in any of those spaces. Excellent. Okay. So this is step one. Next time we get together, we are going to be focusing on adding a silhouette foreground, and we'll talk more about that in the next video. All right.